It's a beautiful Monday morning and the beginning of another working week here in the nation's capital. We're glad to welcome you to the News at 10 on NTA News 24, reaching you live from the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I am Abdul Malik Adio.
And I am Nolin Ebel Ame. Good morning and thanks for joining us. Let's begin the news with the headlines.
Indeed, President Muhammadu Buhari threatens severe consequences against Boko Haram attacks on UN aid helicopter.
NCDC reports 544 new cases of COVID-19 in 18 states and the FCT.
Our religious bodies seek the face of God over coronavirus pandemic in the country.
It's scriptural, and I see a lot of Christians exhibiting reckless confidence, and the Bible describes them as fools.
Plus, correspondence on the new normal in the aviation industry as flight operations prepares to kick off.
We begin with security matters. President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned what he calls a dastardly attack by Boko Haram terrorists on the UN aid helicopter in the northeast, describing it as cowardly and yet another desperate rearguard action by the terrorist group who have been under intense pressure from the Nigerian military recently. In a statement, the president reassures the international community and Nigerians that the latest attack, which claimed the lives of 2 people, including a 5-year-old baby, will not go without severe consequences. The president stressed further that the security of foreigners and Nigerian citizens remain top priority of the government, and everything necessary will be done to eliminate these enemies of humanity. He appeals to all humanitarian and other aid workers in the region to, at all times, properly coordinate movement with the theater commander and other military authorities.
And talking COVID-19 now, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has announced over 500 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. These 544 new cases of COVID-19 recorded in 18 states and the FCT brings the total number of confirmed cases to 28,711 in the country. Of the 544 new cases, Lagos has 199, Ebonyi 65, Oyo 47, Ondo 46, Ogun 31, Edo 30, and the FCT has 28 new cases. Katsina also recorded 25 new cases, Plateau 15, Bayelsa 11, Kaduna and Adamawa have 10 new cases each, Akwa Ibom has 8, Gombe 7, Kano 4, Taraba 3, with 2 each in Rivers and Abia states, while Ekiti recorded only 1 case. Lagos still leads the COVID-19 chart in Nigeria with a total of 11,244 cases, followed by the FCT with 2,181 cases, while Oyo comes third with 1,513 cases. There are now 11,665 recovered and discharged COVID-19 patients with 645 deaths on record.
Still on health matters, the coronavirus pandemic has been a serious concern to religious bodies in Nigeria, and many have turned up the faith in an attempt to combat the scourge.
And it is in this regards that the Nigeria Interreligious Council, in another display of faith, organized national prayers to seek the face of God over the pandemic.
Indeed, Nolin and Amarachi Omenka reports from the National Christian Center, where an interdenominational service held yesterday.
Pandemic, the novel coronavirus challenges the world in treatment and cure, as available research medication are yet to be certified. The Nigerian Interreligious Council believes seeking the face of God in prayers is necessary to eradicate the virus.
The national response that we have put in place is intended to protect the people of Nigeria. It is not designed to afflict us. Government has always been conscious of its responsibility to provide for the good and welfare of the people.
Run to God only when in the face of danger. God gives us 168 hours a week, 1,440 minutes a day. How much time do we spend in conversation with God?
The church urged faithful and other Nigerians to do away with lip services and rededicate themselves to the service of God and humanity.
So we are calling on God to intervene, because God is more powerful than any virus or any disease.
Of the people is the voice of God. So when we shout on Lord, our good Lord is not deaf.
While this congregation anchors its faith on God for solution to COVID-19, the necessity for Nigerians to strictly adhere to personal hygiene protocol echoed loudly in the service. In Abuja, Omenka Marachuku, NTA News.
And still talking on prayer, prayer remains a vital tool in seeking divine intervention against any problem, including that of COVID-19 in Nigeria.
And this is one of the reasons why the Nigeria Inter-Religious Council, in collaboration with Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN Sokoto, is relentless in its pursuit of an end to the dreaded virus. Musa Abubakar has the details.
Is an extraordinary prayer session to rid the country of an extraordinary virus that continue to pose threats to lives and livelihoods. While governments continue to intensify efforts to contain COVID-19, this is amongst many congregations cheerleading prayers for swift end to the pandemic.
This is a directive that was passed on to other states, and we are part of the states in the Federation, and we thought it wise to pray. COVID-19 is real, and we believe it is real, and that is why we as ministers, besides praying for an end to this menace, we also encourage our members to adhere strictly to the guidelines given.
Amongst prayer points here is the message for people to take personal responsibility through hand washing, wearing of masks in the public, and stick to health guidelines by the authorities.
COVID-19 shall be a thing of the past generation.
The mood reflects a growing conviction and hope that the new normal will soon come to an end. In Sokoto, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
That the Cross River state boundaries are open for interstate travels due to ease of the nationwide lockdown is not an excuse for careless lifestyles devoid of the NCDC protocols on COVID-19.
Indeed, this advice formed part of the message at some churches visited in Calabar by the COVID-19 task force team in Cross River State while checking on compliance level by the people. Okuepayang reports.
It was a mild interruption of church services while welcoming the Cross River State COVID-19 task force team, who is reiterating the need to strictly adhere to safety precautions as regards COVID-19.
We need to step up on our games. We need to step up on surveillance, step up on testing, step up on several other things to ensure that we keep Cross Riverians safe. Please take responsibility. If you find any signs or symptoms, whether within yourself or someone around you, please immediately go and get tested free of charge.
With the cooperation of the Cross River State branch of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, and some Christian clerics, the message here is that of taking responsibility for your health.
So far, those who have complied are more than those who have not. I think we need some time. I think we need more effort now. In fact, I would say maybe force to make them comply.
Visits like these by the Cross River State COVID-19 Task Force team to places of worship and other public spaces is a regular for the team, who is calling on the people to shun social activities if necessary. In Calabar, Oku Ekpayong, NTA News.
Now, for the second time, Plateau State Governor Simon Bakola-Long, members of the family and immediate staff have been tested negative to the coronavirus. This follows another test conducted by the governor and his household as a result of the recent cases recorded within his cabinet when a commissioner and his chief of staff tested positive. In a statement by the Director, Press and Public Affairs to the Governor of Plateau State, Dr. Makut Simon Macham, says this necessitated the governor and the members of his family to subject themselves to another test on the 4th July 2020, having conducted the test in April 2020, which all turned out negative. Reacting to the development, Governor Lalong reiterated that COVID-19 is not a death sentence, advising the people to always take personal responsibility for their health and the health of others by adhering to guidelines put in place to fight the dreaded coronavirus, such as mandatory use of face masks, social distancing, hand washing, and the use of sanitizers. He said so far, the testing capacity of Plateau State has increased as more people are being tested daily at the UMVRI laboratory in VOM and the TB reference laboratory at the Just University Teaching Hospital. Efforts are also being made to have the testing also conducted at the Plateau State Specialist Hospital. As the 5th July 2020, about 6,000 people have been tested so far in the state. And if you're just watching or just joining us, this is the news at 10 on NTA News 24, reaching you live from the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Coming up next.
Work to earn a living policy goes practical in Nasarawa State as government provides job opportunities for trainees.
You see pots where we use cook. Now then they are doing the pots for us.
The coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, is spreading at an alarming rate all over the globe, including Nigeria. With the number of infected persons in Nigeria increasing daily, prevention is better than cure. Coronavirus has no cure. The virus spreads from one person who affects two persons, and by the time the affected person is isolated, the two persons have affected four, and it keeps spreading. You must take preventive measures to save yourself and that of the people around you. Always wash your hands with soap and water. Put distance between yourself and others. Whenever you cough or sneeze, cover your mouth. Clean and disinfect surfaces. Stay at home if you're sick and contact the proper authorities. Together, we can cut down the spread of the coronavirus. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest TV network.
Building a strong and viable private sector-driven economy is key to addressing the challenges facing the nation's growth.
Indeed, this was the position at a virtual inauguration at the Joint Planning Committee for the 26th Nigerian Economic Summit in Abuja. Chimobi Water Naji tells us more.
For 25 years, the Nigerian Economic Summit has been an opportunity to consider Nigeria's growth indicators and provide suggestions for a new path to encourage national growth. Now, this they have done through various engagements with the private and public sectors. This inauguration, therefore, is to set in motion modalities to ensure proper brainstorming between the government and the private sector to chart a way forward in promoting open governance, empower citizens, and of course, grow the real sector of the economy.
It's our earnest expectation that the outcome of this work and its implementation
will keep Nigeria on track to meet the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030 and compete with the giants by 2050.
The Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, Clem Agba, at the inauguration said the theme for this year's summit, Building Partnership for Resilience, will explore emerging trends so that Nigeria can capitalize on new opportunities for sustainable growth.
The summit is jointly organized by the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning and the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. There's no gainsaying the fact that the summit provides a unique opportunity for participants from the public and private sectors to discuss key issues and challenges facing the Nigerian economy, with a view to agreeing on common strategy and policy framework for addressing them.
And this year's summit is scheduled to hold from October 26th to 27th of 2020. In Abuja, Chimubi Walter Naji, NTA News.
And still on business, achieving a single-digit inflation rate still possible for Nigeria. This is according to the World Bank Country Director for Nigeria. Let's join Chimubi Walter Naji again for details.
Before the upsurge of the global pandemic, Nigeria's economy was already on its way to achieving single-digit inflation rate, but this was scuttled with the global recession due to COVID-19 and a crash of oil prices, putting pressure on the naira and the local economy. World Bank Country Director for Nigeria, Shubham Chaudhary, says the single-digit inflation is achievable for Nigeria, but policymakers need to prioritize expenditures and focus attention on price stability and control.
I think in the middle of a COVID crisis, with all the disruption that it has caused, I think it will be more challenging to bring inflation down, but not impossible. One of the things is, oil prices are low, and oil often feeds into the prices of other things because of the cost of transportation, things like that. So that's a good thing. On the other hand, the disruptions to supply chains and the fact that it's taking longer to get actually goods on time and you have to take more care will add to the inflation pressures on the upside.
In another development, the federal government is developing a sustainable model that will encourage local production of automobiles in the country through building 3 industrial parks in the country to strengthen the sector through a public-private partnership arrangement.
A couple of days ago, we met with UNIDO. We met with a number of other stakeholders, Bank of Industry, to see how we can move forward and finance these projects, because we envision them to be PPP. But nonetheless, we have already actually started the preliminary construction of the facilities at these parks. So government is showing commitment, and then hopefully this will show how serious this administration is to Nigerians and to the global community, that we are ready for business, that we are ready to improve and produce local components that go into automobiles.
With Business News, I'm Chimubi Walter Naji.
Now, as the aviation sector gets set to resume domestic flights, correspondent Mitari Ikpeng takes us through some of the new normal at the airports.
Indeed, and this from his experience during the test flight from Abuja to Lagos with members of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and some journalists.
With the coronavirus pandemic still raging, departure formalities for the Abuja to Lagos test flight revealed that the first step for intending air passengers on arrival at the departure terminal is hand washing. For this reason, hand washing points have been provided at major airports in the country, as seen here at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Should there be high passenger traffic, there will certainly be a queue for hand washing. Spots have been marked on the floor at various contact points to enable social distancing, while temperature checks and hand sanitizing are mandatory for passengers before even gaining access into the departure hall. Of course, the use of face mask is compulsory, and one particular scenario clarified the fact that anyone wearing a face shield without face mask may be denied access.
Look at the screen. Hello, Serica.
The deployment of interactive robots to profile passengers at the departure terminal of the Abuja airport is another measure to reduce person-to-person contact. Transparent plastic bags are available for personal belongings of passengers as they go through security checks. Seats to be left vacant for social distancing in the departure lounge are clearly marked, and at the boarding gate, passengers are required to pull down the face mask for easy identification while sanitizing their hands at every point. Boarding a flight is now a totally new and different experience altogether, as the processes of hand washing, being on the queue to observe social distancing to board the aircraft are quite time-consuming and will definitely require passengers to be at the airport in good time, hours before their flight.
3 hours before our flight for local flights, so that all of the protocols can be done and we're able to depart on time.
This test flight to Lagos also revealed that some seats will be left vacant for social distancing inside the aircraft, with fresh concerns on whether commercial airlines will increase airfare to break even.
Let's wait till that time. If government has increased its passenger service charge, so it's going to tweak the tickets to an extent.
After arriving in Lagos and inspecting similar facilities, the PTF was confident that gradual reopening of the aviation sector can commence based on its assessment of safety protocols at the nation's major airports.
A lot of the measures you've seen here are measures that are already being taken up by other airports internationally, and we cannot be left behind.
There must be issue of monitoring. There must be issue of supervision and to ensure compliance.
Already, the Minister of Aviation has announced that domestic flights will commence in Abuja and Lagos airports on the 8th of July, while Port Harcourt, Kano, Owerri and Maiduguri airports will follow suit on the 11th of July. Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Nalin, indeed quite laudable measures right there, having to have those computers and the system monitors having to do the checks and balance. But what really matters has to do with supervision and monitoring of the process. So when we're into it, we're 100% in.
Of course, it's commendable, and of course, just like you said, it will take a long time for passengers, to queue up, to wait for their turn to board the flight.
Indeed.
All right, for ages, local fabrication industries in Lafia, Nasarawa State has sustained motivational approach, training hundreds of people and providing them with huge employment opportunities in line with the state's vision of work to earn a living. Abigail Bashi interacted with some of the participants.
In very familiar areas to residents, there is pursuit of excellence by participants and the ambience is unique. The most popular areas of Lafia with the industries include Emir's Palace and Doma Road. 53-year-old Muhammad Idris has been in the vocation for 30 years and specializes in household and farming implements. He has followers who, in addition to learning, also make up the formidable team of the industry.
I have really benefited from the business. We encourage a lot of youths to come and learn the vocation.
For buyers, the attraction to patronize is supporting wealth creation and employment generation.
The quality is good because they last longer. And sometimes when we buy, like our people now, they see ask us to buy for them.
The quality of this work, number one, you see pots where we use cook. Now then they are doing the pots for us. This muruhu, we are cooking. Now then they produce all the muruhu for women. They are using it.
For the many participants, expanding the business to meet high demand by customers is a challenge.
So our problem we always we're facing is to financial instability.
We are soliciting for support to boost the business.
But there is hope to modernize with the new incubation center. It is expected local fabricators like Muhammad and others will be incorporated in order to contribute their quota to economic prosperity. In Lafia, Abigail Bashi, NTA News.
Now, the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, OAGF, has refuted claims by an NGO that it made payment of 173 billion naira without proper records, calling for legal action. Encho Gumbike, Director Information, Press and Public Relations at the OAGF, in a statement explained that the Open Treasury Portal, which was launched by President Muhammadu Buhari on the 9th December 2019, was ministries, departments and agencies. It stated that this is the highest degree of transparency which had ever been implemented in this country, and it is the responsibility of every MDA to give very clear and ambiguous description to this payment, which are in turn electronically consolidated and uploaded on the Open Treasury Portal. Ensure noted that the payment being referred to by the NGO that had been uploaded on the platform had correct classifications in the appropriate accounting and expenditure subhead, from which consolidated financial statement at the end of the year are to be audited by the Auditor General of the Federation. To this end, the Office of the Accountant General is advising the public to note and utilize the facilities accordingly. And this is the News at 10, reaching you live on NTA News 24, live from Abuja, the nation's capital. When we return,
Real Estate Livestock Gas impound 92 cows for flouting the open grazing law.
For now, the best and most efficient way.
Imagine a station where you access information. Think of a station that creates awareness for national development. Imagine a station that prepares you for a bright and greater future. A station for all ages. Documentaries, classroom and television, events coverage, children's programs and variety shows. Always stay tuned to NTA Knowledge on the StarTimes platform, channel 359. For partnership, sponsorship and advert placements, contact us on NTA Knowledge. NTA Knowledge, learning to broaden horizon.
This is the network service of the NTA.
You will have to jump off a cliff just knowing that you will not crash. tell you, everybody has their baggage and everybody has their demon. So you might as well deal with your own demon and everything will work out fine. If you're not in control of your emotions will be in control of you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Emotions with Omenasa. This is a show where I enlighten you and I encourage you and remind you that you should be in control of your emotions. Otherwise, your emotions will be in control of you. So thank you once again for tuning in today. We are talking about passion versus education, passion versus whatever you studied in school, passion versus what everyone else tells you to do, passion versus what you think that you should be doing and nobody agrees with it. That's what we are talking about today, passion versus education. So there was a time in my life that all I wanted to do was just be an intern. I actually wanted to just be an intern to a psychologist. I was living in Kentucky at the time, and there was this place that I used to just envy. All I wanted to do was just hold the briefcase to a psychologist and walk with him or her to their cases and write their statistics and their diagnoses and, you know, and bipolar and schizophrenia and all of that. Like, I was just so interested in that. And then, hey, today I am a singer, I am a businesswoman, I am hosting this show. I am certainly not holding the briefcase to a psychiatrist. So this tells me that your passion has everything to do with your livelihood. Now, there are some people who are blessed enough to find their passion eventually when they do get older. And then we have people who just found it at a very, very early age, and they knew that this is exactly what they wanted to do. For me, I have been singing since I was 3 years old. So now that I am singing on bigger platforms, and now that this is what I do full-time, recording albums and everything, I started doing that when I was younger. But when I went to the university, my bachelor's degree was in church ministries. Yes, I knew that I was going to do ministry in one way or the other, but the magnitude of all that I do is not just church ministries. I'm currently doing a master's now in thanatology, which is the art of death and dying. And I'm telling you, if I knew everything that I know now, I probably wouldn't have spent 8 years in school. So my guest today actually studied agriculture, and you will be surprised to hear what she is doing now, because it has absolutely nothing to do with crops. It has nothing to do with seeds or germination or anything of that nature. And so that's really what I want to encourage you today, is to be very, very honest with yourself, because all these people that you're building your life around, those people will die. Yeah. But because there's so much money in medicine, so you decide to faint every single time that you see blood, and that's what you are enduring because you are waiting for some kind of big paycheck. And let me tell you something about the medical field. It's just like every other field. There are so many levels. But me being in the nursing field, I can tell you that you would never be content in just nursing or in medicine, because guess what? There is a general doctor, there is a surgeon, there is a nursing practitioner, there is a CNA, there is an HHA, there is an NP, there is a hospice nurse, there is a palliative nurse. My goodness, there are so many levels in medicine, just like there's so many levels in banking, and there's so many levels in all of these jobs that we are choosing. So why on earth are we going to decide to walk into a career that we still have to grow in levels and we don't even like it? That is an emotional investment, a financial investment, a spiritual investment. Your whole family is being strained over, and your finances is being strained or are being strained over a profession that you are not passionate about. It doesn't make any sense. And you know what? Yes, I do agree that our experiences kind of expose us to what we really, really want to do. Like me now doing a master's in death and dying. If my mother didn't die, I probably wouldn't have been thinking on that route. I knew that I wanted to do something with hospice, but I didn't know that I was going to take it up to another level of actually becoming a thanatologist. So yes, I do agree that there are some experiences that you would have and process in life that would take you and expose you to what your passion is. But there is something that you have been doing since you were a child. There is something that you just knew that this is what you want to be doing. But then you got older and then you started to think about money, or you started to consider your spouse, or you were considering your parents, or what people would say, what the society would say, and now you have tweaked your plans a little. So that's what this topic is about today, is do not tweak your plans. Don't tweak your plans. Don't change anything. Stick to your guns and make sure that those guns are loaded. Stick to your guns and do exactly what it is that you want to do. Becoming a lawyer, becoming a businesswoman, becoming a businessman. There are some people who, oh, so what do you want to become? Oh, I want to be a businessman. You know, people don't even see this as being a career. They associate being a businessman to hustling, or being a businesswoman to hustling. They don't actually see it as a career move. Okay, well, you know what? Wall Street is being a businessman. Being in stocks is being a businessman. It's the same thing as business. So my guest today is going to enlighten us on how we can really, really hone in on our passion. And you know what? I encourage you to do this when you are still younger, or when you haven't married, or when you don't have so much responsibilities, which would alter your plans. With more responsibilities comes a lot of alterations. You would have to tweak a whole lot. The more children you have, the marriage you have, the country in which you find yourself in, the state in which you find yourself in, they would all come together to help you make a decision that may not even be serving you. So now that you have an opportunity, serve yourself. That's what I would say. Stop serving other people. Stop making decisions based on what people will say, based on what your parents want you to study. If you want to be a fashion designer, start it now. Start it now. Find a school that teaches that. If you want to be a cinematographer, get your degree in cinematography. There's no, all this whole thing about, you can be doing medicine, and then as you're studying medicine, then when you have now finished, then you can now go into fashion designing. By that time, you are older. You are older. Your energy has probably like depleted. You don't even have any money again because you used all of your money paying for tuition, paying school fees for what you didn't even want to study in the first place. Every single thing that you want to do is actually available in the university. There is training for anything, even for stocks. I was actually shocked because I have a friend of mine who went to stock school like 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, there is such a school that teaches you stocks? I just thought that people sit down and they evaluate and they monitor stocks. I didn't know that there is an actual school that would teach you, like with an actual degree, that would teach you how to monitor stocks and how to become like so flipping rich. You wouldn't even believe it. So please be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Thank God that I have a guest who would help me drive this point home. Let's wait on our guest. We've been talking about passion versus education, versus whatever you studied in school. And there's none other to take us to another level with this topic than my guest, Joy Asian. They call her the Millionaire Woman. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
You're welcome.
It's so good to see you. I see all you're doing. Mm-hmm. I see everything that you're doing. Thank you so much for taking out time from your very busy schedule. Making all of that money.
Thanks
Thank you
for having
being
me.
here.
Thanks for having me here.
You're welcome.
It's been a while I've been here.
So, I introduced you as studying agriculture first, and then now you're obviously the Millionaire Woman, and it has nothing to do with crops.
Well, my school was an agricultural school,
Okay.
University of Agriculture, and then I studied biological sciences and
Okay.
education.
Okay, so that's where I got the mix up. So, what made you, I mean, all the way from biology sciences to doing business, selling watches, I mean, like, you guys do a whole lot. Like, you do everything. You make fragrances, and I mean, like, these are international standard products. So how did you get into being this business person? I don't really want to focus much on the product because business is product, but how did you get to be successful?
I am not there yet.
Okay.
I'm on my way there. I'm not there yet, really. Becoming a businesswoman is a process that life took me through. I didn't even know I was going through a process. After school, or while in school, I always had things I sold. I can't think of a time I was never selling anything. We've sold houses, we've sold cars, and I started selling wrappers in school, belts, shoes, handbags. There was a time mommy couldn't afford much at the time. She could only give me money to pay my transport fare back to school. And then this church member came back from Dubai with so many things. So we went to her house. I got a bag full of wrappers, shoes, belts, handbags, and went back to school because I knew my survival depended on the sales from the proceeds from the sales. So I started selling those things. I sold books, and then during my service year, I started selling cosmetics, makeup, perfumes. There's never been a time. It was born out of a necessity. We needed money to do things. We needed money to push things, do one or two things. And the money wasn't really there, so we had to sell. That was how I started business. And then, even when I held down one or two jobs, I still had Ankara somewhere that I was selling. So it was a process life took me through, born out of necessity. And then I grew on it. I became quite good. Doing business actually helped me discover myself. I knew what I could do. I knew what I couldn't do. I discovered I learned marketing on the streets. I had this habit. I would give myself this daily target. No matter what I do today, when I go out, by the time I'm coming back home, I should have made so and so amount of money. So I learned how to strike conversations with strangers at bus stops. I learned how to walk up to people, introduce myself, make polite conversation, and I may not sell to you immediately.
But that's your aim.
Yes, but that was my aim. So we would definitely see another time. So I learned marketing on the street. Most of the things I share online are not just what I read. I share from my experiences what I have done, what I succeeded at, what I didn't succeed at. So, born out of necessity, I discovered myself in the process. I discovered I loved to talk. Recently, I've been having speaking engagements, which have been quite intimidating.
Yes, I saw one you did sometime last week or so.
And the thing is, people kept recommending me for these things. I never pushed for any one of them. I discovered I loved to talk to people. I discovered I could write really well. A lot of videos where I just have an idea, I think of something, I post it online. There was a particular video I posted one day, some 2-3 years ago. I made about 200,000 just from that video. Most of my writings I put out online. I'm able to recruit people into the different businesses that I do,
and
mostly from the comfort of my house. So these days I find myself talking more with startups and coming up with ideas, innovative ideas that could help their businesses grow. So that is how I found myself doing business.
Awesome. And you said something that struck a chord in me. You said that your business started from a place of necessity. When I started my carrot oil business and my jewelry line, it was all from a place of necessity. I was hungry. And so now,
there's this thing we always tell people, is either you're pursuing something or something is pursuing you.
Exactly.
That's what gives you all the drive and motivation. You're either hungry or hunger is pursuing you, or something. There's always something pushing you from that angle of necessity.
Yeah. I like that. Now that you're obviously not hungry, it would take me to the mouths now that you're feeding, because now you have kids. So let's talk about how do you manage to do business? Because I know when you started your business when you just had your first child, and so right before you had your
I
first
took it
child,
to another level.
even when you were pregnant.
Yes.
With your second, you were doing business. So I meet a lot of people who say, I have children. Well, let the children grow up first. When they leave the house, so that I wouldn't go through empty nesters problem. Then I will now start business or whatever. But these people forget that they're going to be older. Because your children will probably leave your house when you're like in 15 or 18 years. So that's plus 18 of what you already are.
That's not the time you want to start a business.
Not now, because like you're exhausted at that time. So you're exhausted at that time. So how do you manage to do all that you do as a businesswoman, and you have toddler, like you have a toddler, right?
7 and 5-year-old.
Okay, so you still have babies who solely depend on you.
Still very dependent on me.
Exactly. So can you let our viewers know, like, your secrets?
I think the challenge of every mom is balance. Being able to strike that balance, work, home, and then me. My me time is non-existent. There are so many times you come into the country, until you leave, we don't get to meet. There is no me time anywhere. So it's balance. It is not always easy, but somehow, when I notice a small 5, 10, 15-minute window, I use it to the best of my advantage. As I was coming out this morning, I had already started the car when I remembered I hadn't kept what the children would eat. So I had to go back inside, warm their food, package everything neatly, and keep where. And also, when I got here, I still sent a reminder I called my daughter and told her to remind Daddy, because Daddy may forget about your food, It's never really easy, but we just take things as they go.
You prioritize.
I don't have that luxury. I call it a luxury of wearing mommy hat now and then keeping it down later and putting on businesswoman hat. I just take it as I wear all the hats at the same time. There was a day we were preparing a PowerPoint presentation. On one hand, we were doing homework. On the other hand, and that is my life on a good day. So we don't manage it at all. We just go with the flow. And then mentoring our children, my husband and I, is top priority. I think they come first. So we try to carry them along too. One of the first business lessons my husband shared with my daughter, he said, meetings make money. You have to organize meetings, you have to be present at meetings to make the money. So somehow it sunk into her consciousness. She understands that we have to go out. And she also has to see us do these things.
Yes.
So she knows that money has to be earned. You don't just get money. Nobody will give it to you. You have to work for it.
You left the biology world, and that was out of necessity. And then you now fell in love with your sustenance.
Yeah.
Right?
There's one thing I want to say before we wrap it up about following your passion.
Okay.
If someone finds himself in a work environment or whatever vocation that he's not finding fulfillment in, and there's something else he would love to pursue, it's not always advisable for the person to just quit his job.
Oh, this is so true.
You don't just wake up one morning and quit your job. Businesses have different stages. Number one, that one you think is your passion may not even be your passion. It may not be the final destination. So there's always a period of self-discovery, and you can discover self from exposing yourself to different situations. Then there's self-development. You have to develop yourself. If you want to go into photography, you should develop yourself in that area. Read up enough books. network, connect with a lot of people who are doing well in that area before you now think of starting your own business.
Yes.
And then from the moment you decide you're going to start your business, there are phases that every business, over 80 to 90% of businesses, new businesses die within the first 3 years.
Yes, because of so much ambition without knowledge.
A lot of things could happen. Every business has a high and a low. So not all of them are able to survive and come out of that low when a business drops. So there's a survival growth. Once you start a business, your sole focus at that point in time is survival. I want this business to survive. I don't want my business to die tomorrow. So after that, then there's growth, the growth period where the business starts to expand and all that. So this is a process. You don't quit your job at the age of 40 or 45 and start going through these highs and lows at that point in time. So you have to find a way to make your time work. So you're able to accommodate these different stages while you're still on your job.
Yes.
And then when you get to that time where, okay, I want to leave this and start focus on this only, you will know.
You will know.
So
you will know.
that is it. And education itself is not bad. Not everyone is going to be a business person, but we still need people working in offices, you know. Education is not bad. When people talk of education, what comes to mind is academics. But you know, one of the best places to study, to master emotional intelligence is in the school environment. You're dealing with lecturer, you're dealing with classmates, you're dealing with supervisors, you're dealing with friends in the hostel. Another good place to learn time management. These are disciplines that would help you in life, in business. So there are so many things. If one has the opportunity to have an education, if someone is educated, you have a degree, whatever, you have an advantage over someone who never even went to school.
Sure.
So we shouldn't demonize it. It gives us a platform.
Yes, it does. So thank you so much for coming. It does. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. See you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time.
You will have to jump off a cliff just knowing that you will not crash. Let me tell you, everybody has their baggage and everybody has their demon. So you might as well deal with your own demon and everything will work out fine. If you're not